Good afternoon, Mike.
Hey, Brian, how are you?
Good.
Good.
Kind of like me, kind of get in early, right? See if everything's working.
Yeah, we're already live streaming, so that's all working.
All right, my button's working tonight too.
Cameras.
Hello, Larry.
Hey, Larry.
Oh, Mr. Cameras, where are you setting up tonight? Is this like your
Oh, same place as always.
same place as always? Okay.
Yeah. When we redid the house, I got a really nice office. I've got granite counters on two sides. Plenty of places for working. I've got built-in cabinets, bookshelf behind me, wood floor. It's really nice.
Where does So you took over like the whole house? Is that what you did or what?
Oh no, I think we had a small little dining room and we just closed it off and we never used it. So, but in fact, there used to be a cut through to the kitchen here, and it kind of changed building codes. When we refurbished it, we couldn't do that, and we just made a wall there. So,
So okay. So you took away your cut through, pass through to the kitchen, so you can't grab a snack while you're working as easily. Is that the case?
I'm pretty disciplined, so that's not usually a problem. Except though, I have been stress eating with this latest virus stuff. So,
You're working on gaining the COVID-19?
Yeah, I'm working to try to get back to something reasonable, like not having to ask people to see if my shoes are tied.
Hello, Jeannie. Hello, Deja.
Hello, Jeannie, Desha.
Hello, Larry, Brian. Hey, I'm prepared.
You prepared?
Yeah.
Oh, for the pledge.
Oh, awesome. Color Guard present.
Yeah.
You pop your head in there, it's going to show up. Did something.
Huh?
You're on speaker, so.
And always my courtesy reminder that we are live streaming. So.
So be nice.
You guys are always nice, but it's always good to have a reminder.
Thank you for that, Mike. It does help keep other people from, what do they call it? Jumping into the photograph, so to speak. Photo bombing me.
I just
Hi, Stacy.
Hey there.
Welcome, Stacy, by the way. This is Larry Dukes.
Hi, Larry. How you doing?
Welcome, Stacy. And I think I saw Danielle there for a second too.
Yep, and Marika Westerman's trying to get on here too.
She
Here's
told
Ann.
me, Mike, she told me she wasn't going to have her video on. She was going to go incognito.
Oh, there she is. Hi, Marika.
I'm having some difficulty. Hi, I can't see everyone else, but okay, there we go. There we are.
Like the boys are tied 4-4 right now,
Oh yeah,
top of the third.
4 home runs by Carter.
Nobody got a single
Very
and
nice.
stole all the way to third and then got stranded on third.
Okay.
Caleb hasn't been up yet.
Did you get in, Katie?
I'm sure that'll blow it open once he gets up there.
For sure.
Well, welcome everybody that's just joined the call. I'm doing, again, my courtesy reminders that we are live streaming on YouTube, just so you know this is being broadcast. Hey, Jeff.
Hey, everyone.
I just can't get the image of the Brady Bunch out of my mind when I see this
Yeah.
whole thing.
Here comes Khadijah.
Brian, I like the phrase school board survivor as we drop off one by one.
Our goal is for all of you to survive.
I'm not sure my mask tan shows up here on the video, but I was pretty red across right here from Friday.
Well, thank God James Sevens brought sunscreen. That's all I can say.
So do we have any first-time attendees with us tonight for this group?
Oh, I think maybe this is Marika's first time. Marika, have you been to a board meeting before?
I don't think so. First time. I know it says Jack, but it's using his account, so it's really me.
Yeah.
Marika, didn't you come with me last year? I thought you did.
I know I was there for the teacher meeting.
Oh, that
Not the
may be
same
what I'm thinking
thing.
about. That may be what I'm thinking about. Mike, were you dying in that suit on Friday night? It was pretty hot.
I needed to hydrate after that, that's for sure.
That's good.
Once you get hot enough, you just kind of go with it. You just sink into it.
All right, looks like it's 7 o'clock, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. We're going to go with the roll call vote, a roll call on the agenda. Jeannie,
Here,
Daisha,
Here,
Ann,
here.
Larry. I didn't hear Larry, but I can see him. And Steve.
Yes, I'm here.
Here.
All right, the gang's all here. Notice the meeting?
The meeting was properly noticed.
Okay. I need a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved. Second,
Thank you for that. Now, Jeannie, if you present colors, we're going to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge of allegiance to the flag
Flag
of the United States of America and to the republic
republic
for which it stands,
and
one nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
liberty
liberty and justice for all.
for all.
For all.
All right. Thank you to our color guard.
Now we're official.
Now we're official. We actually had a flag this time, so thank you for that. Very first thing on the agenda, we're going to talk about the PTO. So Stacy, I'm going to just turn it over to you, and
Yes.
thank you
Stacy.
for everything you do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so we are going to start out with, we raised about 100,000 this year. We ended up pulling in, so we did pretty well, pretty close to past years. We did better with the fall fundraiser. We went with a company this year. We tried it to be a little bit different. They took 50%. So we actually raised almost 165,000, but we only profited about 90-ish thousand. So we're going to take a different approach, learn some things from this company and some things we can do differently I didn't think we could raise that amount of funds, to be honest with you. I don't think anybody did. And when you see that amount of money coming in and then that amount of money exiting, it's a hard thing to swallow. So that's what we ended up grossing on our fall fundraiser. Overall, like I said, it was 100,000. We took a large amount of our funds this year and we put them into district wanted us to, I approached Mike to say, let's look at this as a district wide and give money so it hits all 3 schools, and we can, instead of nickeling and diming everything, carpets, rugs, little chairs. Mike met with the principals, or I think, I'm drawing a blank on her name. Someone met with the principals. I can't think of her name, but they decided for Makerspace, we gave them about 75,000 to do all 3 schools, PLE, Horizon, and ASA, from like 3D printers. What else, Mike? I'm trying to think of other things that we did.
Yeah, I mean, Danielle played a big role in that. Lots of equipment, all the STEM pieces supported the CTE curriculum. I think there's laser engravers, 3D printers. Danielle, you could jump in with anything else, but it was great to see that fundraising really be leveraged, and it's going to be hugely impactful on so many students.
Yeah. So that was just a different approach this year. Next year is going to look a little different. We would already have to be committed to a fall fundraiser right now. And so we're kind of pulling the reins and stepping back, especially going through COVID and not wanting to hit everybody to say, hey, can you give us money? Everybody's going through difficult times this year. So we're going to try a little bit different of approach. The fundraising won't be, we will raise very little next year, but we are going into, I mean, we still have 50,000 that we're rolling over to next year, so I'm not that worried. We'll still raise some money, but we're all kind of living on the edge right now, not doing too much planning, just kind of seeing how next year plays out. So that's what I have.
Well, thank you for all you do. Does anybody have any questions?
Stacy, did you miss out on any fundraisers with COVID since we had to close early?
No,
Yes.
we were so thankful. We usually do a spring event, which is called Hoops Night in March. It's a very large event, lots of planning, and we skipped this past year. So we were counting our blessings as we skipped that and knowing that would happen right during COVID. So we didn't miss out on any fundraising. So it was kind of nice. We just closed our books early and called it a day.
Anyone else?
I would ask Danielle, I know you dropped for a minute there, but could you just speak a little bit to the impact of the PTO funds, and because I know you played a front and center role with all that.
Yeah, so if you recall when we presented the CTE curriculum about a month or so ago, we had highlighted the PTO contribution, which was over $70,000 that they contributed specifically to our maker spaces in all 4 buildings. And so we're really excited that virtually all of the pieces of equipment that are going to be in our maker spaces, which are available to all students all day long, are a direct result of the PTO's contributions to that. So we're definitely going to make sure that we highlight and acknowledge the PTO's contributions to those spaces publicly as well as within those spaces, because it wouldn't have been as full with awesome equipment for our kids to use without their contributions. So thank you.
Yeah, I think this year, I think we did a win-win when we worked with district. I think district, I don't like to pull the reins away from the principals, but I think the district has a way of seeing all the schools at once, so we can, 75,000 can go a long ways or can go a little ways. And this year I feel like it went a really long way. So thanks to you guys.
Well, and again, the great news is it's really impacting students all across the board because it's supporting those facilities and that equipment in each of our buildings. So thanks again.
Cool, thanks.
Thank you.
Daisy, you don't have to thank us. We thank you. Really appreciate all the work there. So thanks. And another Stacy. Next, well, unless there's any more questions on the first Stacy. Okay. Second Stacy, here to talk about the Booster Club. So I'll turn it over to Stacy number 2.
Yep, thank you, Brian. I call the other Stacy PTO Stacy in my meetings. That's how we keep it different. Thanks for having us to talk about the Booster Club, to share our annual results with you. I've been the president. I'm finishing up my 4th year, but I am outgoing. Marika Westerman is on the Zoom with us today, and she is going to be the incoming president for next year. So I sent out some slides for you all. So hopefully you have the slide that says revenue sources and grants paid. That'll be our first slide that I'm going to look at. We had another successful year, albeit a shorter one. We're projecting a net surplus of approximately $15,000. Our largest revenue sources continue to be concessions and spiritware. Spiritware contributed almost $27,000 to our surplus, and $29,000 was from the concession stand. Of that $29,000, $26,000 of it gets paid. Whoops. Oh,
I just thought I'd share the screen for you, Stacy, so everybody can see it. Yep.
Can you do the other slide for me?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Do you want me to move to the other slide?
Yes, please.
All right, hold on. Oh, there we go.
There it is. Yep. Okay. Thanks, Mike.
You bet.
Okay. So the concession stand, we had the surplus of $29,000, but we give most of that money back. It goes to the athletic team and the cheerleaders and pom-poms and the band if they're playing, and the group that's working in the stand. So $26,000 of the $29,000 goes directly back to those teams and clubs that open and run the stand for us. So this year we did not plan on having a large fundraiser. We were going to have a smaller one in March that unfortunately was canceled due to the quarantine. We do have a fall fundraiser planned for this coming November 14th. And we've made a deposit on Revere's in Delafield. So that's why you see a -500 under that revenue source there on that line. We have, hopefully we'll be able to hold that. I hope many of you will be able to come and participate and have a fun evening with us. Details will be coming in the fall. We continue to have a vibrant level of members joining our club, although we did see a slight decrease this year. We had approximately 200 families. We've typically been 200 and over. We were a little under 200, but we did create $22,000 in a revenue stream for that. So that's super helpful. Okay, so now with regard to the grants, so Mike, if you could scroll to the other slide. I already mentioned the concession grants of $26,000 that we awarded. On the second, and then you'll see that we break it down just to kind of try and show you guys that as the Booster Club, we're really not just an athletic organization. So 69% of our concession grants do go to athletic teams, but 31% goes to non-athletic groups that have worked in the stand. And then if you look at the discretionary grants below that, This year, non-athletic discretionary grants went to 53%, or 53% of our funds went to non-athletic groups. So the athletic groups had about 39%. Our total discretionary grants were about $27,000, which is a significant decrease from previous years. Last year we had almost 57,000. Year before that it was about $50,000. So I don't know if it was the shortened year or just people have everything they need. I do like to share with you guys some of the bigger discretionary grants that we've given this year. I'm sure all of you have seen the graduation yard signs that were out this year for the grads. We had 90% this year, the families picked up their grad sign. That's the most we've ever had. So hopefully that's something that will continue. Obviously it was a really different year. So I think that was part of the reason that so many families wanted the signs, but hopefully that will continue. So that's just a gift from the Booster Club to the graduates. We supported the band. They had some trips to Fiserv Forum and to Chicago, and we helped them buy a Clarinova cart. We did help the baseball team. There were some rule changes with the catcher's gear and the requirements that were needed for that equipment. So we helped them purchase that equipment. We also purchased 20 new golf bags that will be shared by the boys and girls. The new girls coach is the one that asked for it. So that was a big expense for us this year. And then the other big one that we had this year was for our girls basketball team. They did a holiday tournament in Appleton. So we supported them with the cost of the buses or the bus and the hotel rooms. And then we paid for the bus that drove them to the state tournament. That didn't happen, but they did drive up there. And then finally, we had some similar expenses over the year that we do every year. We supported the Model UN for their conference fees, the robotics team in some entry fees and equipment costs that they had. So again, similar to other years we've done. Another thing that I'm really proud about, we had a request come in from the rock climbing club for busing. And it led to a conversation that we had with Jeff Behrens, and then Jeff took it kind of up the flagpole about clubs not having busing, a busing budget. And so they were coming to us for the funds, and we just felt like that would probably be something that would be more appropriate to be under the high school. And so that's what's going to happen from now on. So teams like the Rock Climbing Club, Acadec, Jeff, you might need to help me think about, is it like ping pong, like any club that's not an athletic team that travels for a competition, the school will now cover those costs. So that was something that we kind of got the ball rolling on. So that was something I think that'll be really helpful for the groups going forward. We continue to be in a strong cash position, not quite as strong as my PTO Stacy friend in the PTO, but we do always have an amount of late that we can roll over into the fall. And we're trying to be really prudent with those funds this summer, just not knowing what next year is going to look like. Are we going to have regular football season, which is one of our biggest concession revenues? Are we going to be able to hold that fall fundraiser event? So things like that. So we're really trying to keep our expenses down this summer and the start of the year, and in hope that we can continue to stay in that strong cash position. As always, I just want to thank you guys for all of your support. The high school administrators are awesome to us and super helpful in everything that we need to do and work on. And we just look forward to continuing this relationship going forward as you start working with Marika in the future.
Well, thank you for that. Does anybody have any questions for Stacy?
Steve?
Stacy, at first, 4 years of commitment to that group and your leadership role, phenomenal. Thank you so much for all you've done for the Booster Club for that 4-year period. And then the real question I wanted to ask you is, I'm really excited about the golf bags that you were able to purchase. Are you able to get things that that match our branding when you buy those?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, that's awesome.
Sure that the coach
Great.
had to have those certain logos on them. Yeah.
That's terrific. Thank you for that gift to the school.
You bet.
Any other questions? Well, again, thank you for all you do. 4 years. That's kind of a yeoman's effort there. You probably need a break. So thanks again for all you do.
Yeah,
So,
I'd like to
appreciate it.
just jump in and also thank you, Stacy, and for all the fundraising and the support. So our thanks to the entire Booster Club. So, and thank you for your 4 years of service. And Marika, welcome. And thank you for picking up the baton and taking over.
Yeah, I'm excited. Thank you guys.
Fantastic. Appreciate that. That brings us down to salutes and recognitions. There are probably a few to go around besides the two people we just talked to. Would anybody like to offer up some salutes or recognitions?
Brian, whoever wants to go first, go ahead.
I think Daisho I saw first.
I'm sure everyone's going to mention it, but the staff of the high school, the graduation was phenomenal, and the setup and how well run it was. We got lots of comments of people that wanted to do it again, and the bricks were a huge hit. And I'd also like to thank Angie Fulfer. Angie Fulfer helped with the Horizon Math, and she put together some STEM exercises for some kids that are not in the TAG group, but they were looking for something a little bit of additional outside of math. And she put together some a really nice STEM opportunity for some of these children. And it was so nice to see what she put together for these students. So thank you to her.
Thank you for that. Larry, do you have one?
Yeah, other than I'll just kind of tag along with Daisha's. I thought, given all of the circumstances that we faced in terms of trying to do something for our graduates, that the event turned out to be very, very, very well done. Brian and Paul and everyone that participated in it to organize the neighborhood groups that came together and their timing and arrival. And also the fact that the C.G. Schmidt folks had a chance to participate in our activities as well with the creation of the brick. And I thought that was pretty cool because I think the little quote on there is definitely to help build their future, if you will, which is kind of like opening that door to their future. So that was a great, great connection there as well. And probably the other person who we need to recognize is that this was John Gahan was actually on parade as part of this. So John, this is your last child in the schools, right? So congratulations to you for that. And that's wonderful too. So.
It was a stolen vehicle, but yeah, I think special recognition going out to the police and fire department and C.G. Smith. I mean, they all really contributed to just a tremendous event. So it was awesome. Anybody else on the board would like to offer salutes and recognitions before I open it up to admin?
I have a couple more.
Okay.
Also, Jeff Behrens put together the athletic awards night, and that was a fun little event to see online. And we also had the 8th grade promotion, which was really cute. So thank you to the ACES staff for putting that together and putting the cute little video together, and to the principals for getting that all organized. It was cute. My kids enjoyed watching it on YouTube.
All right, thank you for that.
Brian, I have one.
Great.
I would like to recognize all the individuals who contributed to the retirement video. That was such a moving experience, and I really enjoyed the attempts at humor at times and the sincere gratitude that so many showed in that video for the folks who made such a difference to the district and to the students of the district in their time here. I thought it was wonderful. Sad that we didn't have a live event, but I thought the video was so well done and very touching.
Thank you, Steve. That was really, really well done. So to recognize all those people and all those years of service. Anybody else from the board? Whoop. You're breaking up a bit.
Can you hear me now?
Is anybody
We
else
can't
having
really hear
trouble?
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't really
Yeah,
hear you,
we're-
Khadijah.
You're not coming through. We really can't hear you. Sorry about that.
Okay, sorry about that. I can try to say something in chat then.
All right, she's muted.
Okay. Otherwise, I'll open it up. Mike, Danielle.
Yeah, I mean, you guys did a great job of covering a lot of the bases. You know, from the police department to the fire department, that collaboration. We've heard tremendously positive feedback about the parade and a lot of interest in that being an annual tradition. So that seemed to be a real hit with people, and that credit goes to the high school administration, Brian, Jeff, Paul, Brenton, Paula Schultz, Jamie, Kieran, everybody that had a piece in that, not to mention the teachers and everybody that helped out with that event. Adriana was there as well, Amanda Sorkness, Angie Lewick, for the work that they did. And I really, I want to salute the board members. All of you were there. Anne was there with her grandkids. And you were there standing out in that hot sun, and Brian was getting his mask tan going. But what I loved and I was very proud of was standing side by side with a school staff and a school board that were doing everything that I think you could do to try to recognize and honor these kids. And it was great to see the pride in the parents, and it was really unique that the parents got to more closely, I think, share that moment with their children rolling up, and everybody showing some of their individuality. So that was pretty neat. A fun event coming out of a difficult situation. Miranda deserves a recognition for everything that she did. There'd be great footage of that event coming through, but although there were pieces that were student generated and other things, really you talk about retirement videos and pulling all these different pieces together and videotaping speeches and those things, and then putting together those items. She did a tremendous job there as well. But really beyond, and we've talked a lot about the high school. We've mentioned the 8th grade promotion, which I thought was very well done. But beyond that, every single building, those leaders made tremendous efforts. Those teachers and staff members have made tremendous efforts consistently throughout the spring. Whether it's showing up in a retiree's driveway and as a surprise to wish them well, whether it's delivering in-person things to student homes or to colleagues' homes, balloons and yard signs and yearbooks and all that kind of stuff that happened. The elementary teachers loading the buses and their cars and the car parades going through the community to kind of reverse that experience. Of waving goodbye to the kids as they bust away. Instead, they wave from the buses to the students. So no shortage of people going the extra mile to try to put a positive end to, again, a challenging spring. So that's about 700 salutes, Julie, if you got all those, but there's a lot of people to thank. So, and here we have Khadijah. I can put voice to yours that she'd like to give a salute to the staff. Then I just lost it 1 second. So Khadijah wrote, I'd also like to give a salute to the staff at the Pewaukee High School who worked on the Star Student Award, which was great. That was Brenton Roberts who did a lot of that. It was really nice for students to be surprised at their homes with the award and appreciated by the teachers, especially to know that teachers took some time out to write compliments out about their students. And Brenton put on that pirate mascot costume on a very hot day, and I think he lost about 10 pounds, but got the job done. So thank you, Khadijah, for remembering that recognition.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Thank you for that. It was a great weekend. Something to be proud of in the district. Moving down to the consent agenda, we have minutes from the previous meeting. There's some correspondence and no gifts. Unless there's any Questions or corrections? I look for a motion to accept the consent agenda.
So moved. This is Larry.
Second.
Thank you, Steve. First one to find the mute button, huh? All right, thank you for that. Let's go down to the Business Affairs Committee, and I'm just going to turn it over right to Steve.
Great. So earlier, Ann and John and I met together to look at where we stand from current month expenses with the check registers. There were a couple of questions that came in, one from board members and a couple I submitted myself. All things very reasonable and as expected in our registers as we see them now. It's really a change, to go through this process. This is an editorial here. It's really a change to go through this process on a monthly basis when when our expenses are so different in profile with the current COVID stay-at-home orders in the lockdowns of schools. It's been very different to see those transactions. So lots of things that we would have seen aren't in there anymore, and new things are popping in, but all to be expected. We also went through the financial reports at this time of the year. As you remember, we did a budget adjustment last month to accommodate for changes in the profile of the expenses for the year, resulting mostly from the profile of how we're delivering education. So this time of year, as typical, we get to the point where it's very predictable what we should see in the expense reports, because if John and his team are doing a great job, which they always do, we're right where we should be and right towards the end of the year, right towards our 100%, both on the income and the expense lines, and that's exactly where we stand at the moment. Things are very much coming in right where they expected them to be. There will be one more adjustment to the budget in July for the board to approve based on the final numbers as they wrap up for the year. And John and his staff are doing a great job of trying to get everything closed out to finish out the financial year at the end of this month. We went through a budget update for this year, as we just talked about, in terms of some changes to expenses that are expected, and then the last thing we talked about was as a group was annual cost saving measures, which mostly focused around the implementation of cost saving actions as a result of the major work that's being done on campus. John gave a couple of examples about how the things that are being done now will help lower maintenance costs in the future. We shared a little joke about how our custodians will have to spend less time replacing lights in the fall, but more time wiping down surfaces with disinfectants. So thank goodness we're going to have less time changing light bulbs, because they're going to need all that time to keep our facilities clean and healthy for our students. At least we hope so when they all return. That's my hope anyway. So that was our report. That's my report.
Excellent, Steve. Thank you. I need a motion to accept the Business Affairs Committee report.
So moved.
Thank you, Ann. Need a second?
Second.
Thank you, Daisha. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Fantastic. Thank you. Now we have some old business. We discussed the math curriculum revisions last time. I don't know if Danielle's had any questions since then. Danielle?
I have not received any questions.
Are there any questions right now for Danielle? All right. Well, then I think we're ready to do something. Who would like to make a motion?
I move to accept or to approve the math curriculum revisions as presented.
Second.
Thank you, both of you. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Wonderful job on that. Kind of excited about the changes. It is different than what you're used to, but I think it makes a lot of sense in the long run.
Thank you. Appreciate the support.
I'd just say that, man, this curriculum stuff goes really well with their new curriculum director.
It's a big trade-off.
Thank you.
Oh,
I learned from someone great, so it's all good.
Her review must be coming up.
It is.
Wait.
All right, on to new business where we have the RTI handbook. So I guess I'll just turn it back over to Dr. Bosanic.
Yeah, so and I'm really going to turn it over to Katie Spadoni, who is with us today. Katie took over RTI to assist me with that this year, and so she's done a phenomenal job leading this group. And so RTI is an area that is really important to have somebody understand the nuances of and keep a touch on throughout the year. And so Katie's done a great job with that K-12, and she also led then the handbook revisions. And so I know that you received the memo regarding those outlined changes, nothing too dramatic one way or the other, but Katie's here tonight to answer any questions. But Katie, do you have any initial comments that you want to make? Uh-oh, we can't hear you, Katie. You're not
Can't hear
muted.
you.
You're not, it doesn't look like you're muted, but we can't hear you.
The universal sign language for, I'm not sure what's going on.
Right click on that little speaker icon on the bottom right of your computer, your sound profile, your sound settings, and click on sounds. And then you turn, and then you can take a look at your recording devices and see if something's turned off there.
Maybe just try exiting and coming back in. In the meantime, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. Daisha and I spoke earlier and I answered a few questions for her, but does anybody have any questions on the RTI handbook or changes that you reviewed in the memo?
Go ahead, Larry.
Yeah, Danielle, a couple of quick questions maybe, even though obviously you probably didn't have all of the document finalized, but for some of the interventions that during the remote learning or virtual learning, were there some things that just kind of like really stood out that were necessary or required or needed in terms of the changes that were made for the virtual learning? Anything that stand out in your mind?
You know, nothing that necessarily stands out. Our interventionist did an excellent job of really quickly, you know, kind of converting over and working with the parents in particular to set up one-on-one time or small group time, but a lot of it ended up being one-on-one time with students throughout the week to be able to continue to deliver those interventions and those supports necessary. And so I know that both teachers and parents had commented that they were happy to see that a lot of the services continued, and our interventionists did a nice job of sort of converting how they deliver. Are you with us, Katie? Maybe?
Can you hear me?
Yes, yay, Katie's back.
I'm sorry, my computer is zoomed out. It's just like we're done with Zooms.
It's just tired.
It's just tired.
I have a follow-up question, Brian, on another, actually the same kind of topic. And I don't know if Katie wants to respond to it or not, but at one point in time, and this goes way back, I think there was a discussion about the, I think you guys called it, or the wellness checks, if you will, where if you had students that were not necessarily engaged and or parent situations, and that was that obviously something that you picked up on, and were there tracking of that out there as students were trying to address and work in the virtual environment or not?
Yeah, I think that in our discussions with APs, there were a couple of wellness checks that occurred with the help of our SRO. But I would say there weren't a lot of them. I think that, Danielle, I'm not sure what you touched on, so I apologize if I'm double dipping here. But I think as we were reviewing the handbooks, we were really excited as a team because a lot of the interventions and supports that we have in place in each of the addendums and our handbooks can be done both virtually and in a building-based setting. So that was really exciting to know that we had some things that we could lean on as we were trying to problem solve. Like, yes, let's go back to the handbook. Here's some really good stuff here, and this is what we can be using during virtual learning as well.
Thanks, that's all I've got.
Anyone else have any questions?
So you looking for a motion then, Brian, or not?
Yeah, I was checking. Yep, we need a motion to approve the handbook.
So I move to approve the response to intervention handbook and the addendums as presented.
Second,
I don't know who that went to.
Jeannie.
Jeannie, okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? 6-0. Continuing on, the next item on the agenda is education for employment.
Yes, so that one is me again, but just like the last time, I surround myself with really smart people who are able to lead this work for us. And Adriana Plock is with us tonight, and she led this work as well. As you recall, Education for Employment was a plan that we had to put in place a few years ago, and it's a plan that requires board approval each year. And so similar to our handbooks, what you have is a memo that outlines the updates to that plan, as well as a copy of the plan, and Adriana made those updates. So I'll turn it over to her to make any comments and then take any questions you have. So Adriana, any initial comments?
I think, overall, the year went really well. We have a couple of different areas or focus areas within E4E that we really have a lot of amazing highlights in moving into next year. One of those is obviously with our referendum and the new spaces that we'll have. Our new CTE curriculum is a huge component of that. So we have a lot of really strong, powerful wins in this, and we have a lot of things that we can celebrate moving forward. To be honest with you, I think when reflecting on all of the different pieces, there are no major gaps that we have right now. We are in full compliance. It is simply a matter of continuing what we're already doing and continuously making that a stronger program for our students. But if anybody does have any questions, I would certainly be happy to clarify anything.
I saw the note, Adriana, about Insight enrollment almost doubling for next year. Is that true? Wow, almost double from this year?
Yes.
Amazing.
Yep.
And Adriana deserves a ton of the credit for that.
That's a lot of work.
Awesome job of marketing that and taking on a huge leadership role, and has been so great in the program.
That's a team effort, truly. The teachers did an outstanding job. There are natural ebbs and flows within Insight and within student interest. We are also introducing an 8th course, our technology support internship, which has existed in the high school for a couple of years, will be coming underneath the Insight umbrella, which allows us to continue to expand mentorship opportunities for our students, which has always been one of the strongest elements, if not the strongest, of the Insight program. So we had a lot of student interest this year. It was fantastic. And we're really just excited about next year.
Excellent. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Brian.
Larry.
Yeah, and this is a question for Adriana and or Danielle, because I serve as a mentor for one of the students in the Insight program, and he made some comments about the linkages or the tie-ins that we have with the UWG Green Bay and UW Oshkosh for some of the classes. And maybe if you could kind of just maybe clarify for me a little bit, what are some of the main pro or I guess advantages of going that route and tying back to AP courses? What do we get out of the UW Green Bay and the UW Oshkosh compared to APs?
So there's an advantage for the teachers, and then there's a bigger advantage for the students and the parents. So the advantage for the teachers in working with the universities directly is that there's a little bit more flexibility in how they can deliver the curriculum. AP is very specified and you have to stick to it. And frankly, it's very content heavy. It doesn't allow for some of the innovation that and some of the other skills that we profile in our graduate profile and believe are important. So working with the universities, we have a little bit more flexibility while not losing any of the rigor that is powerful with that. for students and families, the financial opportunity is really interesting in that while certainly there's a cost for the AP test, there's not a chance that you're guaranteed credits with that, right? You have to both pass the test and then pass it with a high enough score that the university that you're going to will accept those credits. With the UWGB or Oshkosh partnerships that we have, you pay for the credits at a reduced rate, and as long as you get a B or better in the course, you're guaranteed that. So a typical 3-credit course at GB or Madison or wherever, it cost about $1,200 roughly. With us, it costs $300. So GB had sent us a report a couple of weeks ago. Our students, uh-oh, did I freeze?
No.
Ah.
We can hear you just fine, Danielle. Oh, now you froze.
Is this what Adriana just like takes over? No.
Well, and I think what Danielle was getting to was, and I don't have the number in front of me. Oh, here she's back.
I'm back. Sorry about that. So our students saved about $200,000 in cost this year and earned more credits that are more easily transferred to the universities that they're going to. So it's a huge cost savings for families, and the credits are a bit more guaranteed for the most part when transferring to other universities.
I'm glad that you brought those up. I mean, I figured that there was something out there because obviously the students kind of shared with me some of it. So the guaranteed credits, but I did not know about the $200,000. But I think that's one of the things that in terms of when you really talk about a value-added education and what we're doing in terms of helping parents out with that, that's something that's a really, really good article and story potentially for our district. So
Yep, I just sent it to Miranda and Candace as she does her updates on the number of credits that our students earn and certifications. That'll be coming out in our data as well as we go to review that this summer and fall, like we usually do our updates. So while AP credits may look a little down, you'll see the overall number of credits be higher. So we got to take both AP and now our partnerships with the universities into consideration when we think about those post-secondary opportunities for kids.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? All right, then we need a motion to approve the E4E plan as presented.
So moved.
Thank you, Dacia. Second?
Second.
I think it was Ann, right? Fantastic. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
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 I
All right, motion passes 6-0. Hey, great job on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Adriana and Katie. Great leadership.
Next item on the agenda, give me a sec. Oh, there it is. WIAA membership renewal. I think Jeff is here to talk about that.
Actually, Brian, that just needs your signature. That's all we need for that.
You might want to give us some background or anything like that.
So every year the WIAA sends out to each school a membership renewal. Back in, I think it was, I don't have the form in front of me, but I think it was back in 2016-17, the WIAA basically said that schools don't have to pay their annual renewal fees anymore. It just requires a signature of our school board president, our superintendent, and we send that in. So it lists all the sports that we participate in, both our outright sports and then also our co-op sports.
You're going to explain the contact and non-contact on the form?
Yeah, so contact and non-contact has nothing to do with physical contact. It has to do with host schools. So in each in each co-op situation, there's a school that's considered the host school. For girls swim, we are the host school, so Oconomowoc co-ops with us. Whereas like boys swim, we co-op with Waukesha North, so they are the host school. Boys hockey is the same thing with Waukesha North, and girls hockey is with Brookfield. So they're the contact school for those co-ops.
The joke came up because I saw that said non-contact for hockey, and I go, I know hockey is a contact sport. So
We should attest to that.
So a little bit of humor at my expense. We do need a motion to approve this, though.
So
Can I
moved.
ask a question?
Oh, yes, please. Just go ahead, Steve.
Jeff, I get it that there's no cost to the district. Am I to assume they get all their funding by all those tickets they sell for the regional level and sectional level sport events? Is that how they fund the WIA?
In part, yeah, that's part of their revenue stream. Although there are several sports that run negative for the WIA. If you want, they send out a report every April. I can always provide that to you too, but if you have further interest on that.
Okay, but
Sounds like a good
they
idea.
self-fund that way. It's not through some state. Do they receive some sort of state grant, or is it just all their efforts?
It's all their efforts.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
I think it would be nice if we included in DA report, maybe that report from WIA in April. That'd be great.
Sure.
Yeah, it was very interesting. It showed, how profitable the different state tournaments and those things were. So,
Almost every spring sport runs at a loss for the WIA.
yeah, so the interesting thing with that is the WIA didn't lose money really by the shutdown, because those are the sports that they tend to lose money on. The winter sports, the basketball tournaments, the wrestling tournament, those are big profit makers, as is the football state championships. So.
Yeah, well,
Larry?
actually, Jeff, in terms of the question on that, so the basketball tournaments, though, they lost money on that because there was no boys tournaments, and the girls, they shut down pretty quickly. So I assume that they did not capture that revenue. So.
Or as much. They still, for example, when we host a regional game, so we hosted 2 regional games for girls and 2 regional games for boys. They get about 70% of the revenue from each of those games. So they still brought in some money from, you think of all the regionals and all the sectionals across the state.
Okay, I think unless there's more questions, we're looking for a motion to. I think we're looking for a motion. Oh, I guess we don't need a motion, do we? Wait. Yes,
Move
we
to
do.
approve the
Thank you.
2020-2021 WIAA membership renewal as presented.
Second.
All in favor, signal by saying aye.
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 Motion carries 6-0. And then Jeff is up again for the activities and athletics reports.
So I'll start with the athletics report, and you guys all have that. I don't know, Mike, if you want to share a screen. If not, I can just go through the highlights of it. I'm not going to go through the whole report, but again, I'll just kind of glance over the highlights.
If you got a page or something you want me to go to, Jeff, I can do that.
Yeah, I think we'll be fine.
Okay.
So obviously this year was a unique year with COVID. One of the things that I've been really trying to do is as negative as COVID and everything around COVID was, that was still only a third of our school year, and we still had 2/3 of a really good school year. We had 4 conference titles this year, which was again the most in the conference. Girls golf had their first conference title in school history for girls golf in that program, so that was great. And girls basketball also had a first in school history by making it to their state tournament. For all conference accolades, we had, through the 2 seasons, we had 26 first teamers and 15 second teamers. And just to kind of put that in perspective, last year through those 2 seasons, we had 24 first teamers and 13 second teamers. So our number went up in both first team and second team all conference winners. So that's good. And I do want to highlight Josh Terrian. Josh Terrian was the lone 2-sport all conference winner. He was a first team all conference selection in boys soccer and a first team all conference selection in boys basketball. So, and Josh was just a sophomore this year. So outstanding effort from Josh there. Moving down to significant accomplishments, I want to point out Lauren Schill has a lot of bullet points there, and all of them come in girls basketball. But what's pretty amazing with Lauren is if you look down further down, she's going to Marquette on a soccer scholarship. So as successful as she was in basketball, she's probably even a better soccer player. And one interesting tidbit is Jim Reuter said that with Lauren, accompanied by her sister Mackenzie and her mom Jody, I believe the three of them rank in the top 6 or 7 of all-time scorers in Pewaukee basketball history. So that's pretty cool for that family. Next, I want to go down to the scholar athletes. This is kind of where we get in what I think is pretty amazing of our student athletes at Pewaukee High School, and that's the academic accomplishments that we have. So check out these GPAs of our scholar athletes, our senior athletes. Each team through our conference is allowed to nominate a senior that has the highest GPA, and that person is our scholar athlete for that team recognized by the conference. 7 out of the 11 seniors that are listed here had over a 4-point GPA. That's amazing to me. I every time I look at that, I just can't believe 7 out of our 11 sports that had seniors this year had over a 4.0 GPA. That's I think it's amazing. Moving down real quickly on the athletic awards. So these are the end of the year athletic awards that I announced in that athletic awards virtual banquet. These are all voted on by the coaches. One thing I do want to note as a mistake is the last award with Abby Jansen. She was not an WIAA award winner. She was a nominee. So basically, just to kind of explain that, each school is allowed to nominate their top scholar athlete. And it goes to the statewide competition, and then the WI chooses the top 32, 16 boys and 16 girls to be recognized as an award winner. Last year, we had Zoe Goodmanson, who was one of those 32. We've had, including Zoe, we've had 6 in our school history. But I accidentally listed Abby Jansen as an award winner when she was just in actuality a nominee. So I just want to clarify that. Getting back to our academic accomplishments from our teams, you can see I broke down each sport, how many levels of play they have, the number of participants, and then the program GPA, which is an average GPA of everybody in that program. Starting in the fall, well, first you'll see in both fall and winter, not a single program had under a 3.22 GPA. That was the lowest GPA, which is amazing. Again, that's every athlete, an average GPA of every athlete. Going to the fall, girls tennis had the highest GPA of a 3.84. They had 50 girls out for tennis. So the average GPA out of 50 girls was a 3.84. I think that's just amazing. In the winter, girls basketball also had a 3.84, and they had 34 participants. They were beat out a little bit by girls hockey, who had 3.94. So I highlighted them. They only had three participants, but still an outstanding accomplishment for girls hockey, those 3 student athletes, and then girls basketball, which I'll come back to in a little bit. With girls basketball, one thing I do want to note is that they were an academic all-state team. And so with that 3.84, they had the highest team GPA out of all Division I and Division II girls basketball teams. So outstanding accomplishment for.
That's incredible.
And then moving all the way down, and you can see the conference standings from all the sports. I do my own little calculation. In my previous conference, we had what was called an all sports trophy. And so where you took the placement of each school and each sport and calculated out. And for my own fun and my own amusement, I still do the same thing here with these. And we come out as the top athletic program in our conference just by that. So it's nothing official. It's just something I still do for my own giggles, I guess. But scrolling down to participation, you can see the numbers there. One thing I do want to point out is somehow I messed up on my 1 and 2 sport athletes. So I got to go back and refigure those numbers. So as I was looking through this over the weekend, I have listed 206 were 2 sport athletes, but I only had 154 winter participants. So I'm not sure how I got 206 there. So I'm gonna have to go back and figure that part out. But you can notice that this year we did have a higher percentage of female athletes than we did male athletes. But again, that's without the spring season. Spring season has more male sports than female sports, and generally a higher number of males in the spring. But as it stands, through the 2 seasons, we had a higher number of female athletes than male athletes this year. And then finally, just to round this out, is the professional development by coaches. As I stated in this report last year, this year I wanted to put a little bit more emphasis on professional development for our coaches. And one of the ways that we did that is by doing a book study this year. We did our first book study. There's a book called What Drives Winning by Brett Ledbetter. And it was really about the character development of our student athletes. And we had 8 coaches along with me that participated in the book study. It was a great experience, great discussions, and I look to do a couple more next year. So to keep that going every year. So with that, I'll kind of open it up to any comments on the athletics report before I go to activities.
Yes, Larry.
Jeff, I don't know if you remember this or not, but I sat in on the interview committee that interviewed you for the position. And when you came in, you brought a sample of your report that you had done for Whitewater in terms of what's there. And folks, what you just saw is exactly what I had hoped that we would be able to see in terms of the Pewaukee School District. I mean, it's a reflection of the combination of our athletic programs and our academic programs and merging those 2 together. And I think, Jeff, I take great pride, you take great pride in presenting that report to us, but it's the hard work of you with the coaches and the student athletes that produce the results that we've had. And I congratulate you for that. And I just think you've done a lot of good things for our district, because to me, it's a connection that's there in the students that participate, and the academic performance is just awesome. So Jeff, congratulations to you, and thank you for such a thorough and complete report. So,
well, for me, honestly, it's the coaches are the ones that that should have the credit. They're the ones who are working with the athletes day in and day out, and I'm just telling their story. So I give them the credit. So,
but I also just I wanted to make a quick comment too. One of the things that made me think of this, Larry, with your comment when Jeff was interviewed, I know one of the things he emphasized was how it's a core value of his to ensure participation and to give kids as many opportunities as possible. And I know there were situations this year where, you know, numbers were borderline in some cases where maybe a team could have been cut, and Jeff didn't allow that to happen. So I appreciate the extra effort that you've put in to give as many kids as possible those opportunities.
Yeah, thanks. And that's actually a really good lead in. That's my biggest point with the activities report, is that we had the same number of clubs, activities, and organizations as we did last year, although some of them changed. We dropped a couple and we added a couple. But when you look at the participation numbers in the last page, we had 154 more students involved in our clubs, activities, and organizations than we did last year. So obviously our goal is to try to get as many kids as we can involved in something at school so that they feel connected to their high school experience. And this is a good reflection of the right direction. I mean, if we gathered another 154 students that might not have been engaged last year. So that's a great benefit of our activities program. Furthermore, with the activities program, I have to mention our drama. They had an outstanding spring musical. Catch Me If You Can. They had 5 Jerry Awards, including, for the first time in school history, outstanding musical. So just an awesome job. It is a little bit bittersweet, as Laura Bangs had mentioned, that coming with an Outstanding Musical Jerry Award comes the opportunity to perform. I'm not sure how much an act or what it is, but they get to perform at the ceremony. And with COVID, of course, this year being our year, just like with girls basketball, that first time in school history type of thing was diminished a little bit or left unfulfilled. But yeah, so that just is a quick synopsis of our activities program, our clubs, our activities, and our organizations in our school.
Certainly, it's a wonderful report. Appreciate that, Jeff.
Sure.
Anybody else have any questions for Jeff?
I would just echo what he said about it. It is bittersweet for that drama program because the Jerry Awards are a tremendous production right there on the square in Madison in a beautiful performing arts center. And yeah, they get to perform an act from it. I was able to attend a couple of years ago. And so it's too bad those, and I know Jake Cox performed at that several times and he was outstanding lead performance, again, along with Kendall. And I think this would have been Jake's at least third or fourth year. Well, no, he's a junior. So this would have been Jake's third year performing there because he's made it every year to that category.
Jeff, any predictions for participation rates in the fall?
I do. I don't know if I want to share those predictions though.
You gave us the good news. Now give us the bad news.
Yeah, no, I whether we start on time or not, you know, rightfully so, there's going to be families that are going to be hesitant on sending their kids out there, and so we have to be, and we will be prepared with some lower numbers and how we handle that.
Well, great year, fantastic year, and thanks for that fantastic report. I mean, what more could you ask for? I mean, competitive teams, kids learn to be part of a team, and still that strong academic standing. What else can you ask for, really?
Yeah,
so, thanks.
One of the things that a piece of information that we really tried to capture but couldn't figure it out, and so hopefully next year we'll try to get Candace involved and so on. But we really want to compare the GPAs of students who are involved with athletics and activities versus the students who are not, and show that comparison. So if we can figure out a way to do that, that's a piece of information that we want to include in this report.
I'm sure that'd be one afternoon for Candace.
All right.
So she's pretty good with that stuff. So thank you again. Appreciate it. Yep. Last chance. Anybody have questions for Jeff? All right. Well, thanks for participating tonight. So thanks.
Well, thanks for having me. But I got one more thing coming up here.
Okay, you got one more. Okay.
The hits keep on coming.
Oh, that code of conduct. There you go.
And there's really nothing earth-shattering here. It's not a revision like we did last year. It's simply 2 editorial additions. The first coming on page 2, under the minor offense category, just adding hate speech, racial and ethnic slurs or comments. Ironically, I had made this note way back in the fall to add this before all of the current situation happened. So this is I feel a really important piece to add to this. And the reason that we put it in the minor offense is simply because with the minor offense, we have a little bit more latitude on how we handle it, whether it's depending on the degree of the offense. So we also still, if we feel it is egregious enough to be a major offense, we can always put it under conduct unbecoming of an athlete. So I think that was important of us and prudent of us to add this language to our code. And then the second addition is on page 3, simply adding the word technology under letter I there under major offenses. So social media and technology. So I wasn't sure, honestly, if this needed to come to the board for approval, being just editorial pieces, but I also thought it was pretty important that you guys knew that was in there.
And I just, and Jeff, kind of a question for you. I was thinking about this when I was looking at this today. So we had an effort going on in the conference before, everything went sideways with the pandemic, where the conference is going to be instituting rules specific to the language that was added up above to minor offenses with due to some incidents that had happened last year with managing fans and others. Do you remember? Can you update us where that is at?
Yep. So the conference adopted a harassment policy. So basically, we have language in our conference bylaws that states, if somebody accuses another athlete on the playing surface of any kind of harassment, whether it be racial or other, any kind of harassment. So we have language and now ways that we're going to deal with that. So basically, it can be anything from notifying the official, who then notifies the coaches, and quick assessment of the situation, and then obviously notifying the game personnel. So if it's a home game, I would be notified, or the supervisor in charge at that game would be notified that something happened. It's the school's responsibility to investigate that within 24 hours, so that if something does happen, that person is not in the next game, or there's some sort of repercussion happening. And then it also goes towards spectators as well. So if there's a harassment comment that's coming from the stands and somebody hears it, then we have actions to take for that as well. So it's just and honestly, all of the language that was put in there are things that we already do, but now we just have it in writing and I guess policy, so to speak, within
and consistency across the conference.
Yeah.
Larry?
Yeah, one question, maybe follow up with either Mike or with Jeff on this one. I know that there was some work that Deb Kerr, who's the Brown Deer or was the Brown Deer superintendent, there was like an editorial comment. I mean, did that kind of play into the creation of some of these new language or terminology and use of language as well?
Yeah, there were two instances that happened. One, actually, I think both in football this fall, and one of them was between Cudahy and Brown Deer, I believe, and so that was the spark, yeah. And what we did is we really looked at the Classic 8, and they had some language, and we basically modified it to fit our conference. But yeah, there were two instances in particular that sparked this movement.
And Mike, this may relate to our conversation earlier today, which I don't want to get into, but I think it's very appropriate to recognize that that's with some activity underway as well.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, it was, considering what's happening right now, it's obviously very appropriate that policy was put into place for the conference.
You're looking for a motion, Mr. Kamers?
Yes, please.
I would like to move to approve the Athletic and Activities Code of Conduct as presented.
Second.
Thank you, Jeannie. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
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 Motion carries 6-0. And hopefully I won't skip over the next item here. It's kind of weird to see one guy on three topics in one night. So building the excitement here, going from the WIAA activities report, code of conduct, we now launch into property and liability insurance. Turn it over to John. Is John still around?
Yes, I think you teed that one up perfect for excitement. So what you have in the memo is a lot of detail around the property, the coverages that we have for property and liability. So the non-health insurance coverages for the district for the year. A couple of highlights on here. We are really in a hardening market right now for property insurance. We are seeing about a 16-18% increase in those rates. As we bring on the new values after the construction is completed, we'll have some adjustment to those. But several of the items that are included in the construction project will also reduce the cost of those premiums from where they would have been. So property insurance is going up. On the second area where you saw an increase was in the workers' compensation. Remember a year ago, we talked about a year of high claims that we had. The way that the renewals are calculated, it's a 3-year calculation. So that high year of claims will stay with us both this upcoming year and the following year yet. Results in an increase in our workers' compensation mod factor, which drives the premiums that we have to pay. This year, that premium increase was offset by decreases in the rates, and those rates are set by the state for the district. Overall, all of the other lines of insurance were relatively flat, less than a 1% increase in all of the other lines in total from the previous year. A little background on the insurance, we bid that out every second or third year. The years in between, we'll negotiate renewals with the carriers that we're working with. So you have 2 motions that are in the memo.
Just a quick question. You made a statement there about some of the things we're doing with construction will reduce our property insurance in the future?
Correct. 2 of the biggest things are some of the roof upgrades and some of the building envelope work that's being done. You recall we had 1 loss on our property insurance a year and a half ago when we had 0 temperatures. We had a pipe freeze in the middle school and the library. Redoing that HVAC system to prevent those from happening in the past. Minimal impact. The bigger impact of the construction is now having all of our buildings with a sprinkler system and new alarm system. So those will have the biggest impact on the premiums that we'd be looking at.
That makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. So,
John, can you explain where the dividend comes from, the 22% versus the 27%? Can you explain where that comes from as a offset against costs?
Sure. So in the workers' comp, we work with a carrier to identify claims really early in the process and get nurses involved with any workers' comp claim to reduce the overall cost of those claims. That's one factor that goes into the dividend. So once the year ends, our fiscal year ends on June 30th, we'll have an audit. Workers' comp premiums are based on the amount of payroll that you run through, and carriers will give you a dividend. They'll return some of the premium that you paid them based on the losses and on the claim amounts that you've had. So we negotiate the rate of the dividend in advance. We get it 1 fiscal year following the year of when the experience is. So we've had as high as 30 to 35% dividends in the past, and these fluctuate with the market, with the insurance market, with different carriers. Our dividend as proposed this for 1920 was 27% of the premium that we paid. For 2021 was proposed at 22, and currently we're negotiating with them. We're still waiting to get through underwriting for have that dividend increased, potentially get it up to 25%.
Other questions? No? All right, thank you for that, John. We got 2 motions here. One is the renewal for M3 and the other one's with Gallagher. So would somebody like to take the first one and make a motion?
I recommend approval of the insurance renewal with M3 per the attached summary of coverage proposal in the amount of $211,598.
We have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ann. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
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 Motion carries 6-0. Second step.
I recommend the approval of the property equipment breakdown, cyber liability, and crime policies with AJ Gallagher in the amount of $64,240.
Second.
Thank you again. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
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 6-0. Thank you. Appreciate the report, John. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is the policy committee report. I'll turn it over to Jeannie.
Okay, we have policy number 5700.03. And technically, we did not make any changes to the policy. We just did a little bit of changing on the procedure. So if you look at your policy, Julie was nice enough to put the procedure in there, and it just kind of clarified how we did the randomized drug testing for the kids. And really, it's the company that we hire that does the choosing of the random numbers, and they don't have names with them or anything. And we set up just a couple other minor things in the procedures.
Anybody have any issues? Okay, well, then we'll see this next time in our consent agenda.
Okay. Policy number 7300.01, membership board, education associations. We made absolutely no changes to this one. It's short and sweet.
Do I need to ask if anybody has any objections? Okay, I guess it goes back into the consent agenda.
Okay, then we had 4000.01 personnel employment of staff. And again, we made no major changes in the policy itself. We just made a couple in the procedures.
Everybody good with that?
Okay, and
All
then
right,
we
thank you.
had 7200.03, review of student and staff handbooks, and we made no changes of this. This one was pretty succinct. We look at the handbooks every year and we okay them.
All right. Well, guess we'll push this one to a consent agenda as well for next time.
Okay, and then the last one was 3800.03, public solicitations, promotions, and advertising. And all we did on this was basically change the non-discrimination paragraph.
Everybody good? Okay, fantastic. That's going to consent agenda for next time. Anything else, Jeannie?
No, that was it.
All right, fantastic. Thank you for that. All right, personnel issues. Hopefully it's still the case. We don't have any resignations at this time.
No resignations?
All right, we do have a couple employments to act upon.
We do. We have 4.
I know I have them up here somewhere.
All right, should I take the first one?
Yeah, the first one is Carmen Behrens.
Carmen Barron's a name that may be familiar to you, and
Yeah.
maybe that's why Jeff decided to hang on the call for a little bit. But we're through, Matt Cashton's done a great job for us, but has chosen to resign, and he lived quite a ways away. That was rationale for his move. But we're thrilled because that's a tough hire to find a good French teacher. And Carmen certainly is a highly skilled, very accomplished and experienced French teacher. Comes to us from Whitewater, where she really built up that program, a lot of leadership in regards to use of technology, and even ran professional development for staff. I'd be happy to take any questions. Otherwise, I'd seek your approval of Carmen Behrens as our new French teacher for Asa Clark Middle School.
So moved.
Second.
It was Larry and Dacia. All right.
Yeah.
All in
And
favor?
I think she comes highly recommended by somebody already on staff, so.
Yeah. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Hi.
I guess.
Carries 6-0. Welcome, Carmen.
All right.
Next one looks to be Vicky.
Vicky Prolongo, who might be a name you're familiar with. Vicky's been a paraprofessional for us and has been going back to school for her teaching degree, and then did some student teaching with us. And so we are recommending Vinzi, or I was looking at Lindsay Krieger's name. So I combined Vicky and Lindsay. Recommend Victoria Perlongo as our new third grade teacher. I'm sorry, a grade 2 teacher. She's replacing Lindsay, who was moving to third grade. So I would take any questions, but seek your approval for Vicky Perlongo.
So moved.
Second,
Thank you, Dacia and Jeannie. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, welcome, Victoria. Next one is Brenda.
We have Brenda Montaigne, filling a half-time speech pathologist position for us. Danielle jumped in and interviewed Brenda for me because I wasn't available. But she's a very experienced and highly regarded speech pathologist. Danielle or I would entertain any questions you have. Otherwise, we'd seek approval for Brenda as our 0.50 speech pathologist.
I'm just kind of curious how we were able to steal her from Waukesha schools.
I don't know, Danielle, you have any, or Colin? I don't know if Colin's still on here. I don't see.
He is.
There he is. There's Colin.
Yeah, the FTE was just right, and she had some capacity in her schedule to take on more caseload.
Okay. Do we need a motion and a second?
So moved.
second,
All right, the same tag team as last time. Thank you. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
6-0. And then I think we got one more, Angela or Angie.
Yep. Angela Carey is actually a parent in the district who's done some subbing. Had moved up here and had taught for 10 years, and then the last several years had been off staying at home as a mom, and then got back into subbing, and then decided that she wanted to be back, and lo and behold, an opportunity arose. So we're thrilled to have her. Be happy to take any questions, but I would otherwise seek your approval for Angela Carey as our new third grade teacher at Horizon.
Motion.
So moved.
second,
All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Welcome, Angie.
Brian, before we move on, can I ask Colin a question?
I don't see why not.
Thank you. Colin, I noticed for the second and third grade teachers, we got 191 and 192 applicants. Holy cow.
We did, which was going back to board meetings in the past. Most of those hiring recommendations were high demand, and this definitely represents a lower demand with such deep pools of candidates. So
Is it because
good to see it.
is it because there are more teachers available than anyone expected? Because we've been hearing for years about the shortage that's coming. Are we getting more teachers than we expected, or are people just really wanting to come to Pewaukee?
Yeah, a great deal of both. Of that pool, there's a portion that are new grads, but really a surprising amount of experienced teachers who want to be in Pewaukee. So we really get the nice best of both worlds approach.
Excellent. Thank you, Colin.
Yeah, and Steve, to your question, I mean, there's definite shortages, and they can be very dependent on the position. So like we talked about French, we're really happy to have Carmen in the mix, because French teachers are hard to come by. Really, most world languages, especially non-Spanish, are hard to come by. Science, math, tech ed, special ed, anything in career tech ed, those things can all be real tough, but others we have healthier pools. And we were really astonished at how many applicants we had for the AP position at PLE, which I think was 137.
Yeah.
So we've had some really strong pools, and kudos to Colin and the work he does getting the word out and recruiting.
Thank you.
Keep forgetting to hit the button. If we're good, let's move down to board goals and operations. First item is to review upcoming activities. We've got a live event, if you will, on June 22nd at the auditorium, where we need to have a meeting for waiver of instruction minutes and a public hearing on the same item. And that's going to start at 6 o'clock. Is that correct?
Regular time, I believe here. Yeah, we have committees at 6 and
okay.
meeting at 7. Yeah.
All right. Oh, there it is on the next page. The July 6th meeting is moved to July 13th. Business Affairs and Policy will both be on that night as well. Right now, we have Friday, July 31st set up for graduation. Do you want to make any comments about that, Mike?
Yeah, so we're gonna lean on the recommendations from with the county. We're working pretty closely. In fact, the next three, we had one last week, and the next 3 Wednesdays, we have Paul Farrow and his lead of the health department to really, with Waukesha County superintendents, to align our efforts here in dealing with COVID. And so we will, that'll be one of the key factors is what is the county's recommendation on group size? So we'll monitor that. Currently, it was just elevated to 100. So that'll have an impact as to what our options are. And then as we get closer to that date, we'll be looking to solicit feedback from students and parents to see level of interest and participation as we can kind of detail out a little bit about what that event would look like. So we're hopeful to be able to offer something, and otherwise I was pleased with the experience that happened on Friday. So we'll see what we can do and what the conditions are.
All right, thanks. Then we have our annual meeting on the 10th of August. Of course, we'll have some shorter meetings to begin with, business affairs, and then the regular board meeting. Then the hearing itself, the budget hearing, starts at 7. We have on the calendar our tradition of having a new teacher luncheon. Hopefully the Butler Inn will actually be open for us and stuff like that, so that we can get together. And August 24th, we're being asked to hold a short meeting for the evening at 6 p.m. Mike, is that for a hiring?
Well, it's really just kind of a placeholder in case we need it. I'm just trying to, plan ahead for what will the situation be in August. We're already heavily engaged in planning for the fall and what that's going to look like. We just thought it might be prudent to have a meeting on the schedule just in case we needed board action on anything. So that's really the purpose of that. And, at the new teacher luncheon, we'll have to watch those county recommendations on group size because it's a big group of hires this year. So
what's the count?
What are we at, Colin? We got to be high 20s.
I wanted to say we hit 30, but I think we're high 20s. Not quite at 30 yet.
We had several position ads we knew we were going to with the changeover to the house model with the 6-8 building for Asa Clark next year. So that was one of the drivers of that number. So.
Okay.
Oh,
yeah, Larry? Yes?
Question for Mike. So on that 24th, though, are you guys planning on doing the breakfast they usually for the welcome back teachers breakfast?
Yeah, we're going to move ahead with the plans as normal unless we have to adjust. So, yes.
Okay. Anybody have anything else that's going on that the board should know about?
We have our interviews in there too.
The 15th and the 16th, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Starting at 6?
Correct. And we have 9 applicants.
So everybody saw where that was linked to see the backgrounds for everybody? Okay, fantastic. Thank you for that, Jeannie.
I assume, Julie, you'll be sending out Zoom meetings for that? Is that how that's going to work?
Correct. We have those set up. We've heard from all of them except for one of the candidates, so I'm waiting to hear back. But I do have a schedule with all that information, and I will share it out as soon as that last person gets in touch with me.
Thank you all for your flexibility. I'm the one who couldn't do it this week, so appreciate your all willingness to do it next week.
No worries.
Yeah, no worries, Steve. If there's nothing else on upcoming activities, the next item here is a legislative advocacy update. Not really much going on at the Capitol right now that I am aware of.
That's, I don't know, John, if you have anything to jump in, it's really kind of monitoring budget and those kinds of things. I did receive an email today from Senator Kapinga interested in what our plans are for the fall. I have yet to reply to that. I just received it this morning. So there's, a lot of discussion really about what is the budget repair bill going to look like? What's that going to mean for schools? So but not a lot of activity happening right now, John, unless you know of anything.
And Brian, this is Larry. Same thing from us, Southeastern Wisconsin School Alliance. Not a lot of activity right now other than preparing and planning for the next budget cycle, if you will.
Okay, the next item then is the board meeting schedule. I don't know if there's too much discussion there, is to get everything on your calendar looking forward for next several months. Anybody have any comment on the schedule? Okay. Next item under board goals and operations, the personnel update. Colin really put together a nice report. Do you have any commentary you want to add to that?
No, just the highlight of kind of that big picture perspective of work that went back to really 2018-19 school year, with some staff surveying and feedback that was tied to the grade level configuration with 3rd and 6th grade moving buildings. So really that drove, along with obviously retirements and resignations, some of the internal moves that you see there as well. So hopefully it's laid out and broken out in a way that you can follow not only resignations and retirements, but people who are still with us, but moving buildings or moving positions.
No, I really appreciated that report. Any questions for Colin? All right. Next item is discussion and possible action on a statement from the district regarding the current civil rights protests. I just got a notice from WASB. They have actually some example letters out there from Burlington, MPS, Oshkosh, and Superior as well. So, well, Mike, you want to take over the discussion?
Obviously, a really serious situation that's happened that's really sparked, protests that have been real sustained related to civil rights. And I thought it was worthwhile for us to consider publishing a statement on behalf of the district in number R. You mentioned some that were shared with you. I looked at messages that have been published by Menominee Falls, Kenosha, Whitefish Bay, Elmbrook, as I drafted this piece for your consideration. So the intention of this, if you approve and are supportive, would be to send this out to all of our families. So the goal here is to really comment on what's happening, to tie it. My effort here is to tie it to our mission, which is to open the door to each child's future, and certainly addressing concerns that many of our students would have in relation to these racial issues and some of the tragic events that have happened and abuses that have happened. And to really state clearly, really that we condemn acts of racism and violence, and our commitment to nurture and respect and dignity of all people is really emphasized in this letter. And really talking about, I thought it worthwhile to talk about how we've become a much more diverse school system over the past 20 years. And so I included some of that data that we've moved since 2000 with really, I think it was about 95, 96 non-white students in the district to, I think it's about 630 today. So we've transformed as a district. And the goal of this would be, one, to make sure that we, reinforce our values in terms of how we respect the dignity of all people, and to make sure that students, all students, know that this is a place where they're valued, loved, and cared for, and then to provide some resources to families to engage in some of these complex conversations.
Would anybody like to make a comment?
I'd ask the question, I guess, Mike, is there some room for adding to the purpose to include our staff?
Absolutely. This is for any suggestions or feedback. This is a first draft of this. And I could absolutely incorporate changes recommended by this group. So in terms of the comment to students, you want me to include staff in that statement, Steve? Is that what you were looking for?
Well, what I was thinking about is who's our audience, right? You talked about that a bit, talking about parents. You're like the audience was parents. Is there a need to address the staff and make the same commitment to the staff of the Pewaukee School District?
Staff as audience as well as staff as a group also.
As a concerned group, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay, just wanted to offer that.
Yep, that's a great idea.
Anybody else have anything to say?
And Mike, I think you've implied it. You are going to circulate something. Is that what I understand? You're going to circulate a draft or not?
You have a draft. It's in your, you should have a link.
I wonder where that would be. Okay, I'll look around.
It got added to the board docs just of late here.
Re-download the DA report. Is it in there?
No, it's in board docs under this item on the agenda. It says administrative contact. It says a draft statement is here. I can also directly share it with you, Steve, just to make sure you have it.
Found it. Thank you. Sorry, I missed it earlier.
That's okay. It just got added late in the day today.
Appreciate it.
So Mike, with that, I mean, when do you expect or need comments back?
Well, I'd like to get it out right away.
Okay.
So I was hoping to have a discussion and direction tonight and hopefully move forward with maybe minor adjustments and push it out unless this board had reservations and would like me to come back at a later time. But my advice would be that we push it out sooner versus later.
Could I just ask that we get our student representative to give us some feedback too, please?
You know, and I think I have to share this directly with you, Khadijah. Let me do that.
Can you all hear me?
Hey,
Yes.
Now we can.
Okay.
Coming through loud and clear now, Khadijah. So I just shared it with you, Khadijah, so you should be able to get to it on email because I don't know that you had access to it in board doc.
Okay, I will take a look at that, but I just want to say that I know that a lot of students on social media and like from students I have talked to have a lot of passion for this cause. And I think this statement would mean a lot to many students. I think it's really important that this is pushed forward for sure.
Thank you, Khadijah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Just curious on this document, do we want to have some resources for children to reach out in case, I know we have like a couple links there, but for students, if they need to talk to somebody about everything that's going on in not only the area, but nationally, and I think we do have some resources on the website, so maybe we could direct them to that in case they need to voice something if they, need to talk to somebody directly.
Yep, I'll add that in there, and I sent it late in the day to David Woodford. I'll double check with him to see if he has strong recommendations, but also contact information for people. And what I'll do is, and keep the feedback coming, I'll finalize the draft and email it out to everybody just to do another check-in to see if if it meets with if you're in approval of it tonight in concept. We'll do some of the ads and pieces like Steve's suggestion as well. Before sending it out.
Don't know if you have time to pull it together, but like a URL to our website, they might have a list of resources.
Yep. And we could do that, Brian, because we do have that page of resources.
Okay, cool.
So with that, Mike, is this, I mean, the letter's gonna go out. Are you still planning to meet with the students as well? Is that still in the works?
Yeah, the petition piece is a separate issue. This was something to think about already on Friday before the petition
Okay,
even
that's fine.
forward. But yeah, Danielle and I, and Colin, actually, I don't know if I talked to you, maybe invite you, have a conversation with the 6 or 7 alumni who submitted that petition, just to have a conversation with them and hear them out and talk about things that I don't think they're aware of that we already do in the district.
I mean, I think it's very well done, and I think it does make sense to have a statement out there and that it's reflective of our values in our community and our school district. So thank you, Mike, for pulling that together. I haven't had a chance to look at it real closely, but I'll take a look overnight, so.
And Khadijah as well, any feedback that you have, let me know. I'd be happy to have it. Also for this group right now, I have myself and Brian as signatories. You know, that's just a suggestion. We could do it differently if the board would like me to. I did that because typically I speak for the district and Brian speaks for the board.
That makes sense.
All right. Any further discussion on that point? So if you do, take your time and read it. Steve, I know you didn't get a chance to look at it. Khadijah didn't. So if you got feedback, just send that directly. Don't copy everybody. Just send it directly so we don't get any trouble on a walking kind of a thing, walking type of meeting.
Yeah, email me directly with feedback. Is everybody, if everybody's comfortable with this concept, are you then comfortable with me sharing back a draft and then just double checking with Brian that he's good with the final version?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I think we don't have anything else on the agenda. I know I've screwed it up a couple times tonight. Too many Jeff Barons. Anybody else have anything to add before we call for an adjournment?
Move to adjourn.
Thank you, Larry.
Second.
Thank you, Steve. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
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 All right, thank you. Have a great night, folks. It's been a great weekend, and we got a lot to be proud of. A great report tonight from about our activities and athletics. So we just got to keep working hard and keep moving forward. So thanks, everybody.
Thanks for your time, everybody. Thanks for joining in, Khadijah, even when it was optional to be at a board meeting. So good to see you. All right. Have a good night, everyone.
Bye now.
Night.
Bye.